And
Exactly.
searches PDFs without problem. She was gonna check on that I don't know.
What's the license cost?
I don't think I think you actually buy the program and there's no
There's
license.
upgrades every couple of years that you have to buy.
Well, thank.
If it's like typical programs, that's what I see. You have to keep upgrading them and it costs more money.
As long as it, continues
I
to
get the
search.
stuff, I turn it over to a searchable PDF, and I'm good to go.
We're gonna have to buy a license anyways, because
Chunk of money, that's how.
come to find out, Harlan and Carrie, when you ask them to search for something, they search. I mean, it's not keying a word in. They actually have to go through and search everything. So a resident looking online, they gotta do the same bull crap.
Well, I know they got to pay for a helicopter.
So are you saying that
Little more.
we send then to anyone in the vicinity, anyone that wants to, or would it just be a council device?
That nuance should be integrated with the.
What is this? Oh, pages and
Anybody
pages.
can search online.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder going.
Every other city I know.
And that costs a lot, that thing costs a lot of money, Bubba, to do that.
No, nuance isn't too bad.
Well, I don't know, I was hearing 20,000, close to, and I'm sitting here, well, I don't care, I ain't gonna be here, so you guys do whatever you wanna do. I'm gonna be a free bird.
You guys, you do.
Freebird, is that
Yeah.
what you said?
Yeah,
60s?
huh?
Is that song in the 60s?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
70s.
Okay. Either way.
I'm just gonna be,
Before my time.
fly away, fly away.
I would bet the staff, even though the medical staff is not very good.
Yeah, just
A year or two.
yeah.
We're being treated.
Okay. My son's having surgery.
Nothing serious.
Some of that street cleaner coming, I heard it. I go, man, what is that sound? It was that street cleaner coming down by, he's cleaned it up good too.
Do-do-do-do.
That was my granddaughter, yeah, we watched her.
All here.
And he's
Oh, yeah.
not left in there.
What grade was he in?
He had the other.
Was it no school? Was there no school that day?
That's what we figured.
They're not sure what they're gonna run into. This one's last time he had a leg
okay, so what's he
tear,
doing out of school?
rotator cuff issue.
From lifting.
Did they try sucking some stuff out of a sewer or anything like that, or did you try?
No,
Okay, you didn't do that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
got him to scale man.
Hey, did we get that other, ordinance for the jail?
Some pounds I was down to
I remember what street, I know what street you told me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
the
important.
way at the end.
last week.
I'm in a blank too. But at Fair Oaks. Fair Oaks.
It's never even used except for when it's used. It starts dripping, comes through the ceiling in the kitchen.
See what that does.
So, started to deal with that.
How many attorneys we gonna have here tonight?
Just take out these lights, recess lights.
Yeah, he was using it on his
You know
phone
what?
videotaping it.
These
No,
cabinets,
attorneys for the executive session.
here, those need to go. Oh man, I've got my whole kitchen ready right now.
That's what happens.
They all look so happy.
Yep.
Under committee of the whole.
Indeed.
You good?
Come on, Dennis.
I call the regular council meeting for Norton City Council for Monday, March 11th, 2019 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Here.
Mr. McClone?
Here.
Mr. Carrot?
Here.
Mr. Towsley?
Here.
Ms. Whipke?
Here.
Mr. Pelot?
Here.
Mr. Kernan?
Here. Under communications from the public, Mr. Casey.
Thank you, Joe Casey, 3141 Monterey Drive. Who's in charge of posting the minutes for the boards and commissions?
Not us.
didn't know that.
Shannon, I think.
The boards and commissions are an administrative function, so I don't know.
All right, because there's 13 scheduled meetings with 2 cancellations. There's not 1 minute posted for the year. Isn't there a time frame they have to be posted by?
I'll look into it.
Thank you.
All right, then back in 2007, the city council passed an ordinance for an asphalt resurfacing machine. Do we still have that machine at all? Do you guys know?
A Durapatch.
It's the Durapatcher. It's very old, and I think it's shot, because I think they were talking about wanting to potentially buy a new one.
So we still have it here? And
I
the city
don't-
still owns it?
I don't know.
Is there any way that I can get some information about that, if we still own it or not?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Under committee of the whole, are there any reports from the standing committees? I will at this time acknowledge receipt of the February 2019 budget reports. And then we will move on to the Barberton jail agreement. Mr. Towsley, are we going to?
Yeah, so just to give an update, I'd asked the council to hold that in the event we had the agreement in time. Barberton's currently drafting that agreement. It'll be a 3-party agreement with Copley, Barberton, and Norton.
Okay.
That will spell out the terms of the jail cost sharing that we laid out last week. We don't have that currently.
Okay.
So my intention would be, as soon as we get that agreement, get an ordinance to council. If we could expedite readings once we get the agreement, that'd be great. But I didn't want to introduce an ordinance without the agreement attached.
Mr. Towsley, this is actually under your committee. Do you have anything to say about that? Or?
Well, I guess the only thing I would ask in the meantime, the temporary agreement, is that still going, or where are we in that?
The temporary agreement with Barberton is still ongoing, yes.
Okay, because
Right.
that has not expired or anything?
The 3-week cost sharing that we had previously with Barberton.
This would be the last week
Be the last
of
week.
that. So, but we're moving forward under the premise that we're going to be accepting the current terms that we have set forth.
So if it goes over by a few days, it's not a big deal?
Right. I think after our agreement expires, the intention is Barberton will just be operating its jail with the assumption that because everyone's told them we're going to follow this new agreement
On a percentage basis.
on a percentage basis.
And the
then
basis is, the percentage basis is still the same percentages that we talked about over the last previous weeks.
Okay, so we're covered. Obviously, we have the other agreements we put in as well. But
Yes, yes.
yeah, it would not be a situation, to your point, I see the question you're asking now, where Barberton would prohibit us from bringing prisoners to their jail.
Yeah,
They
I
would
guess I
continue
could've worded it
operating.
better.
It wouldn't be us paying the whole freight like we had done for that 1 week to bridge the gap. And we would be operating under the assumption that we're eventually going to have an agreement that does the cost sharing on the percentage basis. We just don't have that written agreement yet.
Okay. So do we need to put this on the work session next week, or just wait to hear from
I would
administration?
hold it for next week. It doesn't hurt to put it on.
Yeah, we might as well go ahead and add that to the work session next week. And if we don't have anything by then we'll deal with it then. But I would expect we probably will.
And I talked with Lisa Miller from Barberton on Friday, and she hoped to have it pretty soon. So if we
Okay.
didn't get it today, I'm hoping by tomorrow or Wednesday we'll have the agreement.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr.
I just
Messner?
texted Mr. Hess. We still do have the Durapatcher. It's in very poor condition.
Thank you. Anything else under committee of the whole? Consideration of the minutes of the regular council meeting of February 25th, 2019. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those? Those minutes will be accepted as submitted. The minutes of the committee work session of March 4th, 2019. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those? Those also will be accepted as submitted. Reports from officers, boards, and commissions. Mayor Zita.
Thank you. All I have to report is the CCA. We still have 3 more dates for taxpayers' assistance located here at Community Center. That would be on Wednesday, March 20th from 1 to 7, Wednesday, April 3rd from 1 to 7, and Thursday, April 11th from 1 to 7 at the Community Center for any residents that need help filing their city tax.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fowler.
I have nothing.
Mr. Messner.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Markey.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to skip over public hearings and come back to that at 7:15 and move into introduction of new legislation. We will hold Resolution 35 since that has to do with the public. Can we do that reading or should we wait?
No, wait.
We have to wait.
Do the waive, yeah, all the procedural stuff you're going to do, I would come back to it.
Okay, we'll come back to that one. All right. Ordinance number 36, 2019. Mr. Carent.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I offer ordinance number 36, 2019 for its first reading, and ask the clerk to read it.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Superior Paving and Materials Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $1,111,000 for the 2019 street resurfacing program and declaring an emergency.
It's a first reading only, and I do have a question.
Sure.
Is there any urgency on this being that street repaving? What's your anticipation of what our need is for that timing?
By law, council has 30 days to reject or accept all bids.
Okay.
So this would be day number 16. 1 more week, 2 more weeks will be the 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Superior, were they a different company before? How long has this company been around?
They've been around a while, at least 14 years that I can recall, maybe longer, but they're based out of North Canton, but they've been in business for a significant period of time.
Thank you.
Any further discussion regarding ordinance 36? Ordinance number 37, 2019. Mr. Carent.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I offer ordinance number 37, 2019 for its first reading, and ask the clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Parent Asphalt Company in an amount not to exceed $44,000 for the 2019 concrete repair program and declaring an emergency.
It's first reading only.
Thank you. Ordinance number 38, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I introduce ordinance number 38, 2019. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2019 Dodge Durango for the police department at a cost not to exceed $21,379 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is one of the replacement vehicles where we're replacing the Chargers due to the fact that the Durangos are more usable and safer. It's first reading only. We don't have to have that done right away. You can go to 3 readings. Thank you.
All right. Ordinance number 39, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance number 39, 2019 for its first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2019 Dodge Durango for the police department at a cost not to exceed $25,879 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is for the same thing, to replace one of the Chargers. The difference in the amount between the two is because we didn't get as much of a trade-in on this one because it was an older vehicle we traded in. It's first reading only.
Thank you. Introduction of prior legislation, resolution number 28, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer resolution number 28, 2019, and ask clerk to read it, please.
A resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission for financial assistance through the State Capital Improvement Program and the Local Transportation Improvement Program for 3 projects in the city of Norton, and committing to provide funding for the local share of each project and declaring an emergency.
Second reading only, thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance number 29, 2019, Ms. Whiskey.
I introduce ordinance 29, 2019 for its second reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2019 Dodge Durango for the zoning department at a cost not to exceed $28,100.
Second reading only.
Thank you. Ordinance number 30, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
I introduce ordinance 30, 2019 for its second reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2019 Ford F-150 truck for the service department at a cost not to exceed $24,412.67.
Second reading only. Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance number 31, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
I offer ordinance 31, 2019 for its second reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2019 Ford F-250 truck for the service department at a cost not to exceed $27,251.30.
Thank you. Both 30 and 31 are basically, we're replacing vehicles in the service department. Second reading only.
Thank you. Ordinance number 32, 2019, Mr. Gaynor.
Yes, would the clerk please read 32, 2019, second reading?
An ordinance tentatively approving the preliminary/final plat of the site plan for Dollar General Store at 3296 Cleveland Maslin Road.
Second reading only.
Thank you. Ordinance number 11, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 11, 2019 for its third reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to authorize the administrative officer to enter into an agreement with Engineering Associates Incorporated for professional engineering services in connection with the design of water line improvements in the city.
I now make a motion to adopt ordinance 11, 2019.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 11, 2019. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 12, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
I offer ordinance 12, 2019 for its third reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to authorize the administrative officer to enter into an agreement with Engineering Associates Incorporated for professional engineering services in connection with Eastern Road Waterline Extension in the city.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 12, 2019.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 12, 2019. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 13, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. Should we go ahead and read it, or do we want to get an
Yeah, so I
explanation?
can give a little bit of background. So
Please.
this project was split into a north and a south portion. We call it the 261 water line loop. And council had previously approved the north portion, which had included a booster station because there was a low pressure and a high pressure zone. And so they had you have to equalize the pressures between those two zones. That pressure station at the engineer took a closer look at the south loop portion of it, determined that the engineer determined it was better to put that booster station on the south portion. And so the agreement you have before you doesn't include the design for that booster station. It's about $60,000 for the design. That's currently included in the north. It won't be paid for there. It'll be paid for out of the south. So it's not going to cost any more. It's just shifting around where the money's coming from. So based on that, we're recommending that you table the ordinance tonight so we can get you an updated agreement and can talk about more committee of the whole next week before you bring it back and with an amended agreement if that's how you want to proceed. But that instead of trying to pass something and come back and amend it later, we thought that was a better way to handle it.
Okay. Do we have to make a motion to table that then? I make a motion to table ordinance number 13, 2019 till we get the new one.
Yeah.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to table ordinance number 13, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
I have one question.
Mr. Tousley?
What, I've gotten north and south confused, but what happens with north? Does that need to be amended as well?
The north has already been signed, so it would just be non-performed. The design for the booster station would be non-performed under that contract, and it would be performed under the new contract. So
Okay.
we can get, I'm sure, an amended agreement. I don't Mr. Powell.
It's a not to exceed amount,
Yeah.
so we're going to non-perform it on that other contract.
So there should be no issue.
Right. There'll be no, yes.
And if the new legislation could just make some reference that this was covered in.
That's fine. We can do that as well.
Any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pilot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. We're going to go ahead and finish the introduction, then go back to the public hearing. Ordinance number 14, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 14, 2019 for its third reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to authorize the administrative officer to enter into an agreement with Environmental Design Group for professional engineering services in connection with the New Park Drive roadway improvement.
Thank you. I motion to adopt ordinance 14, 2019.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 14, 2019. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pilot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 15, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 15, 2019 for its third reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to authorize the administrative officer to enter into an agreement with GPD Group for professional engineering services in connection with the design of sidewalk improvements on Easton Road.
Thank you. I motion to adopt ordinance 15, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 15, 2019. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pilot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 16, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
I offer ordinance 16, 2019 for its third reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to authorize the administrative officer to enter into an agreement with GPD Group for professional engineering services in connection with the design of stormwater improvements to Worcester Road.
Thank you. I motion to adopt ordinance 16, 2019.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 16, 2019. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pilot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 18, 2019, Ms. Whipke.
I offer ordinance 18, 2019 for its third reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of an agreement with UBS Financial Services Incorporated for financial advisory services.
Thank you. Motion to adopt ordinance 18, 2019.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 18, 2019. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pilot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. We'll now move back to public hearings. I now declare the public hearing convened on resolution number 35, 2019. Resolution number 35, 2019 is a resolution to approve the renewal for placement of farmland located at 4474 Cleveland Maslin Road, Norton, Ohio, in an agricultural district. Would the clerk please certify the legal notice was published in the Barberton Herald on February 21st, 2019?
I so certify.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Please step forward, give your name and address to the stenographer.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Tousley?
I spoke with Mrs. Dayton over the weekend.
Yes.
And obviously, she would speak on behalf of it, but she couldn't be here tonight for a family obligation. So I just want to let council know that she obviously would speak on behalf of that. And And I would like to speak on behalf of her as well, that I am in favor for it.
Thank you, Mr. Tousley.
As usual, Mr. President, I'm always for our agricultural districts.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said renewal? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said renewal? I now declare the public hearing closed. We will move back then to resolution number 35, 2019. Mr. Gaynor?
Yes, I'll offer 35, 2019. Ask the clerk to read it, please.
A resolution to approve the renewal for placement of farmland located at 4474 Cleveland Maslin Road in an agricultural district.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the second and third readings.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second to waive the second and third readings. Is there any discussion regarding waiver only? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Carrot?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Make a motion to vote to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to adopt resolution number 35, 2019. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Carrot?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Public service announcements. Mayor Zita?
I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Fowler?
I have nothing.
Mr. Messner? I have nothing. Mr. Markey?
I have nothing.
Anyone from council have any public service announcements? Okay. Under new business, executive session. Council will now enter into executive session to consider the purchase, transfer, or sale of property for public purposes as defined in ORC Section 121.22 G2 and Section 3.122 of the Norton City Charter, and employment matters as defined in ORC Section 121.22 G1 and Section 3.121 of the Norton City Charter, and conferences with an attorney for the city concerning disputes involving the city that are the subject of pending or imminent court action as defined in ORC Section 121.22 G3 and Section 3.123 of the Norton City Charter, and to consider confidential information related to economic development assistance as defined in Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22 G8. Please remember, while council is in executive session, the audio and video is recording live and uninterrupted. If you do not want your conversations recorded, please exit the council chambers. I would also announce that there will be no further business to take place in council when we return from executive session. Having said that, I move that we enter into executive session.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to enter into executive session. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Kernan?
Yes?
Ms. Whipke?
Mr. Pelot. He beat
Oh,
me.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carrot?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
I would also like to invite Mr. Messner, Mayor Zita, Mr. Fowler, and Mr. Markey.
What's wrong with you?
Discombobulated.
How's your truck?
Brady, how you doing? Huh? Good. The new one? Yeah. I love it. I just love it. I don't love yours too, but I've got him.
No,
I mean,
no, I mean, they're-
I want to, you know, that gas scares me.
That is such a nice ride.
Oh my God. I'm so glad I got rid of it. I know I got a car payment now. You know what? It's safer for the kids. You know what I mean?
I mean, to
I
me,
know
You can't beat the ride, and it's just.
We love it. Love it a lot.
Okay. Put on my coat before I carry freezer me to death.
It is a little bit chilly in here, isn't it?
Gonna be cold again and warm again and warm and hot. Right.
Yes. Any further business to come before the council? Is there a meeting to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Me?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Carrie, I'll send you an email. I'm gonna be out of state next week.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Right.
Have a good one,
Yeah.
Jack.
So what we would do is if we ran all by camera